For the Snaps game of the week is USC at Oregon in week 13. So, what is at stake for each team this week?
Yeah, I think for the Ducks, just on top of college football playoff hopes and lingering hopes at a Big Ten title, which are fading given Ohio State's in Indiana both undefeated. This is a huge game in terms of recruiting. Oregon has 20 players from Southern California. They have 3 players on the roster that played at USC before. So this is just a big game in terms of optics, in terms of which program is ahead. It always has been over the past couple decades between Oregon and USC. So this is a big game just in terms of that for Oregon, as well as staying alive in the college football playoff hopes.
Yeah, and for USC, I mean, this is their entire season right here. This game will dictate whether the season is a success or not for the Trojans, because they need this win to make the college football playoff. There's really no other way they can do it. And also a big thing about this game is that it's gonna really dictate Lincoln Riley's credibility here. These are the games that he was brought in to win. These are the games that he's supposed to win. This is why he's making a lot of money as USC's head coach. And he hasn't really done that yet in Los Angeles. When he was at Oklahoma, he was consistently beating, top 10 teams, ranked teams, and that's why the Sooners got to the college football playoff consistently. But ever since he's been at USC, it hasn't been the same thing. He entered this season 4-10 against ranked opponents, and then this season he's 2-2. And at the same time, Lincoln Riley has yet to beat a top 10 team at USC. So it really not only dictates, whether this team can make the college football playoff, but at the same time, where Lincoln Riley can be taken seriously as a legit proven head coach.
With a loss for either USC or Oregon, what's the best case postseason scenario for each team here?
Well, if USC loses, they can pretty much book their trip to San Antonio, and I don't think that's something they really want to do. College football playoff really isn't in the picture anymore if the Trojans lose. If they do lose, then it pretty much can guarantee a trip to the Alamo Bowl, a great respected bowl game, but at the same time, that's not what the Trojans want to be in. They want to be playing for a college football playoff. They want to have a shot at national championship, and with the loss, that's just not going to be possible.
Yeah, I think the Ducks are in a little more steady of a position, but it gets dicey with a loss because you're losing to probably your biggest competition for that next Big Ten spot. USC would kind of vault past Oregon in that scenario, and then Oregon would have to then beat Washington, who's a good team, and hope that 4 Big Ten teams get into the playoff, which very well could happen. I think Oregon has a strong resume. I think the committee has so far, even though they've not ranked them in the top 5, top 6 with the one loss, they do think they're a playoff team at the moment, and they could get in there, but it certainly puts doubt on whether they could make the playoff or not. And you would be losing to your biggest competition in the conference for one of those playoff spots.
Who's facing the most pressure at this point in the season? Is it Dan Lanning or Lincoln Riley?
I think that's an interesting question. I think it's probably Lincoln Riley. I think just given what's been going on and at USC and the pressure to win this season. And I think he's done a really good job at answering so far, at adjusting, at building his defense and making his offense a little more diverse, even though they still sling it around the yard plenty. Where, Dan is, headed probably for a 4th straight double-digit win season, barring 2 losses this year. And that would be 4 10-win seasons and 4 seasons at Oregon, along with being in the college football playoff hunt every single year. So, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of pressure on them. They have to, in an ideal scenario, win both these games to feel totally comfortable about making it into the college football playoff. But I think Lincoln Riley's probably under a little more pressure.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Lincoln Riley, this is a game that really is, as I said, dictate, the narrative around him. He needs to win these big games to justify, every reason why USC decided to take a chance on him. And if he doesn't win this game, it honestly isn't going to be crazy to say, how hot is the seat going to get for Lincoln Riley, which is crazy because he's had winning seasons every year at USC, but that's just, they're looking for more than just that. They need to be competing for national championships. And if Lincoln can't get the job done, there's going to be even bigger questions about, whether he can take USC to that next step.
USC and Oregon have two of the best offenses in the Big Ten. Whose defense is best positioned to step up in this game?
Well, I think it's definitely. I think you have to give the edge to Oregon. They have shown more consistent defense at and being able to limit those big plays. Obviously, it's going to be certainly tough that USC has probably one of the best receiving duos in Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane. And whenever Jaden Mayaba just has to throw the ball to them, as long as they get to their vicinity, they're probably going to catch it. But for USC's defense, it's been kind of like a weird season for them. They've been kind of suspect, but to be fair, they have picked it up recently. We saw in their last loss, which was against Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish ran wild against them. They couldn't stop them if they even if they tried. But USC's defense has really kind of picked it up in these past couple of games, like particularly in the second half. Like you look at when they played Nebraska, Northwestern, Iowa, and those 3 games, they only allowed 6 points total in the second half. And so they've been making those halftime adjustments that's, really benefited and, really helped them get past like some of these early deficits and teams hanging on in the first half. So obviously, like now when you're playing a great team like Oregon, USC needs to put it all together for 4 quarters, which, is something that, the Trojans are waiting for. But you have to give credit that USC now looks like they're capable of being able to stop an Oregon defense for 4 quarters. Just a matter of, if they're actually going to be able to do it.
Yeah, I think for Oregon, they've had a top-ranked pass defense for most of the year. And Dan Lanning, when he talked to us on Monday, sort of admitted that part of that probably just is because they played in several rainy games, and that is certainly a factor. And, Wisconsin couldn't really throw the ball against them. Iowa couldn't throw the ball against them. But they're also really good, and they beat you with young defensive backs. They have a true freshman in Brandon Finney that's a legit All-American candidate, not just freshman All-American candidate. And they rotate guys like Theron Johnson, who transferred from Northwestern, and Ifeoma Badegwu on the outside there. And they're long, they're rangy, but they're young. And this is clearly their biggest test of the season against, again, what Lanning called one of the better receiving cores he's seen while at Oregon in USC's receiving core. So defense is going to be a huge factor. And I think stopping the run is going to be really important for Oregon, just given Dan Lanning said again on Monday that defending USC is kind of like robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like you put in all the effort into stopping your passing game. And then next thing you know, King Miller's rushed for 100 yards or he's busted loose an 80-yard run in the run game. And if you let that go, it could spell trouble. So their focus is going to be on trying to make USC one-dimensional. And I think they have the tools to do it, as well as be able to establish their own run game to kind of keep the ball away from USC.
Oregon versus USC, who wins and why?
Yeah, I think the Ducks have the edge here. I think playing at home again at Autzen Stadium is one of the most intimidating venues in the country. Certainly on the West Coast, Lincoln Riley and USC know that. And just that ability to run the football. Oregon has one of the strongest rushing attacks in the country. They likely will not finish the regular season with a 1,000-yard rusher, but they've just got a 3-headed monster and Noah Whittington, Jordan Davison, and De'Aaron Hill, who just can come at you in so many different ways in the run game. And I think that's going to be hard for USC to stop. And then on the other end, I think Oregon kind of has the tools to be able to limit USC's run game, which will force them to be one-dimensional in the pass game and have the safeties and the cornerbacks to kind of get the job done. So I think Oregon's got the edge here at home.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I definitely would give the Ducks the favor of winning this game. I think, like mentioned, the home field is going to be a major factor, and USC really hasn't done greatest on the road, especially in those big-time matchups where the crowd's definitely making a difference. And I also think at the same time, like, we've seen Dan Lanning be ultra aggressive coming out of these games, really putting an emphasis on getting points on the board quickly. And I think it probably will shock USC a little bit. Granted, the USC offense is more than capable of, kind of matching what the Ducks are doing offensively. But I think what's going to be the difference is in the second half. Like, I don't believe USC is going to be able to just stop Oregon from scoring in the second half. I think the Ducks are great at capitalizing on those opportunities and, getting into the fourth quarter, being able to put points up on the board when they absolutely have to. And I also think Oregon is going to bring some coverage that's really going to confuse quarterback Jaden Mayava. We've seen Mayava has, thrown some interceptions or turned the ball over like in critical positions in the red zone, or like we know when SC's about to score. And I think the Ducks are definitely going to be, trying to bait him a lot into, turning the ball over. And I think when that happens in the second half, and it really kills momentum for USC, I think that's when Oregon's going to really strike while it's hot and then be able to pull out with the win.